He opened the letter from his company's pension office expecting routine paperwork. Instead, it offered him a choice: keep his monthly pension for life or take one lump sum of $340,000 right now. It felt like free money. It was a number bigger than anything he'd ever seen in his bank account. Now, wait for a moment and tell me, what would have done at this moment? You would have taken it, right? After all, $340,000 isn't a small amount, and this is exactly what he thought too. But what he didn't know was that it could be a big mistake. But how? Let's understand it through the story of Frank. Frank spent 34 years working at a manufacturing company. 34 years. Can you imagine giving that much of your life to one place? In return, he'd built up a pension that would pay him $2,100 a month for the rest of his life, guaranteed, with survivor benefits built in for his wife. That's real security. That's the kind of thing people used to be able to count on. Then, 2 years before he planned to retire, at 62 years old, a letter showed up. The company was de-risking their pension plan, which really just means they wanted to shift the risk off their books and onto the employee. Instead of paying him monthly for life, they offered him a one-time lump sum of $340,000. Just take it and walk away. Now, stop and ask yourself honestly, what would you have done? Because on paper, that number looks incredible. Frank's goal was simple. He wanted to retire comfortably, have a little flexibility, and maybe leave something behind for his kids. And when he saw $340,000 sitting there, it felt like the answer to all of it. Here's the thing though. He compared that number to his bank account, not to his actual life expectancy or what that pension was really worth over time. He did some quick math in his head. $340,000 divided by $2,100 a month comes out to about 13 and a half years of payments. So he figured, if I live past that, I come out ahead by managing it myself. He liked the idea of investing it, staying in control, and leaving something for his family instead of the payments just stopping when he passed. Honestly, it felt like the smart, modern choice. Wouldn't you have thought the same thing? But here's what Frank didn't know, and honestly what most people don't know. That lump sum number wasn't just some generous gift from the company. It was calculated using IRS-mandated interest rate assumptions and mortality tables, and those calculations are almost always more favorable to the company than they are to you. In other words, the offer is built to satisfy a legal minimum, not to make sure you're taken care of. Frank took the money and invested it, following advice from a relative who seemed to know what he was doing. And then, right in his first 2 years of retirement, the market dropped. He was withdrawing money for living expenses at the exact same time his investments were losing value. There's actually a term for this. It's called sequence of returns risk, and it's one of the most dangerous things that can happen to someone early in retirement, because losing money while you're withdrawing hits so much harder than the same loss would later on. By year 8, his account had lost more than half its value. So let's talk about the real rule here, the one almost nobody explains clearly. A pension buyout isn't just a cash offer, it's a complete transfer of risk. When you have that monthly pension, the company is guaranteeing income for as long as you live, and in many cases, that promise is even backed up to certain limits by the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. But the moment you take the lump sum, all of that protection disappears. Longevity risk, market risk, inflation risk, it all lands squarely on your shoulders. Now, let's really dig into why this happens, because I think this is the part that actually helps you going forward. Companies calculate these lump sums using something called a discount rate. Basically, it's an assumption about how much your money will grow if you invest it yourself. The higher that assumed rate, the smaller the lump sum looks because the math assumes your money is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting on its own. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. These rates change monthly. When interest rates go up, lump sum offers tend to shrink because the formula assumes you'll earn more on your own. This affects anyone with a traditional pension, especially if you work in an industry like manufacturing, telecom, or any older corporate sector where companies are actively trying to get these long-term pension obligations off their books. And the mistakes people make tend to repeat themselves, comparing the lump sum only to a bank balance instead of guaranteed lifetime income, underestimating how long they might actually live, forgetting to think about a spouse who might depend on that pension down the road, and investing the entire amount all at once without any real withdrawal strategy. Now, I do want to be fair here because a lump sum isn't automatically the wrong choice for everyone. If you have a shortened life expectancy, if there's no spouse relying on the pension, if you already have other guaranteed income streams, or if the company's pension plan itself looks financially shaky, taking the lump sum might genuinely make sense. This isn't about fear, it's about making sure you're deciding with full information. So if you ever find yourself holding one of these offers, here's exactly what I'd encourage you to do. First, ask the pension administrator directly for the exact interest rate and mortality assumptions they use to calculate your offer, and get everything in writing. Second, calculate your own personal break-even point, meaning how many months of payments would it take to equal that lump sum, and then be honest with yourself about your family's health history and how long you're likely to live. Third, before you sign anything, talk to a fee-only financial advisor, someone who isn't earning a commission off of managing that lump sum for you, because that's a conflict of interest you don't need clouding this decision. And just as important, don't let yourself be rushed. Most of these offers come with a 30 to 90-day window, and honestly, that's rarely enough time to make a decision this big without real guidance, so don't be afraid to ask for a written extension. And please, don't assume that past investment returns are just going to continue. A pension already accounts for decades of market ups and downs behind the scenes. A lump sum puts all of that uncertainty directly on you. And one more thing you really need to understand. Once you elect the lump sum and it's processed, that decision is final. There's no switching back to the monthly pension later, no do-overs. So what actually happened to Frank? His story doesn't end in complete disaster, but it wasn't the retirement he had pictured either. By 73, with his investments running out faster than he expected, he went back to part-time work just to cover his basic expenses, something that guaranteed pension would have made completely unnecessary. His wife, who would have received the survivor benefit under the original pension, now relies on Social Security and Frank's part-time income instead. And I think the real lesson here isn't that lump sums are always a bad idea. It's that a decision like this deserves real analysis, not a gut reaction to a big number sitting on a piece of paper. So let's bring it all together. The key lesson is this. A pension buyout trades guaranteed lifetime income for a one-time payment, and that payment is calculated using formulas that often favor the company, not you. The biggest mistake people make is comparing that lump sum to their bank balance instead of comparing it to their actual life expectancy and their real income needs in retirement. And here's your action checklist so you actually walk away with something you can use. Request the calculation assumptions in writing. Calculate your own personal break-even point. Talk to a fee-only financial advisor before you decide anything. Think carefully about your spouse's long-term needs, and whatever you do, don't rush. Ask for more time if you need it. If you've ever been offered a pension buyout, or if you're facing that decision right now, I genuinely love to hear about it in the comments. And if this helped you understand what's really going on behind these offers, consider subscribing, because this is exactly the kind of thing I want to keep breaking down for you.